Inspiration. Watch Anime Supernova on NHK World Japan.
Watch NHK World Japan now over the air and on Comcast and Verizon.
Are you a Maryland renter at risk of being evicted due to COVID-19 related issues? Help is on the way with Maryland's Emergency Rental Assistance Program. You may be eligible for assistance in helping to pay current or past due rent and avoid the threat of eviction because of wage loss or illness due to the pandemic. To learn more, visit rentrelief.maryland.gov or call 877-546-5595.
The Weinberg Center for the Arts in historic downtown Frederick, Maryland has a season full of performances with live music, comedy, film, and more that make the perfect gift this holiday season. From Trey McLaughlin and the Sounds of Zamar, to Friends, the musical parody, and Afrique en Cirque, there's something for everyone on the Weinberg stage. For season details and ticket information, visit weinbergcenter.org.
State Circle is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
Connecting Marylanders to their government. This is State Circle.
Good evening. Welcome to a special edition of State Circle with highlights of recent programs. We begin with the role that public financing will play in the race to be Maryland's next governor. At least one candidate plans to use a funding mechanism that was used successfully by Governor Hogan when he first ran. We spoke with Joanne Antoine, Executive Director of Common Cause Maryland, and Emily Scarr, Director of the Maryland Public Interest Research Group.
So the Fair Campaign Financing Fund, which is the official name, is made available to candidates who are running for governor. The program was actually first established in the 1970s, and a few candidates, both Republicans and Democrats, have opted in, have been able to receive some funding. But, unfortunately, for years after Governor Hogan was able to successfully use it, the program remained underfunded. And I think for us as a coalition, so we, Common Cause, Maryland PIRG, we help lead the Fair Elections Coalition, which has been championing these small donor public financing programs at the local level. We knew that in order for us to kind of pass these reforms statewide, that we needed to start off by fixing the status of this program. Unfortunately,
I was going to ask, how effective can they be? I mean, all the candidates are out there raising money. The course of the campaign, they're going to raise tens of millions of dollars. You think a lot of it probably comes from people who have a cause or want to support a candidate with similar opinions. Obviously, there are people buying access too.
Yeah, so the point of the public matching system is so candidates can remain competitive and not necessarily outspend all competition. But the updates to the campaign finance system enables candidates to receive up to $3 million in matching funds through receiving only small donations from Marylanders. So it's certainly not easy to get all that money. We know that if candidates really tap into small donor base of Maryland, they can raise real money to remain competitive with traditional candidates.
What are the trade-offs for them? Because they're then only accepting small money?
Yeah, so there's some new stricter requirements on the public financing system that has existed in the previous program. Candidates can only accept donations of $250 or less. So no money from corporations, no PACs, no business money at all. And they can only receive matching funds from donations from Maryland residents. So they can still take their $200 from their grandmother in Florida, but only donations from Maryland residents are eligible for matching funds.
Yeah, and I just add the one additional piece too. So it's $3 million per election. So in theory, a candidate who makes it through the primary can get up to $6 million and really run a competitive race. And again, even after they've reached the qualifying threshold, they've maxed out on the match, they, again, to Emily's point, can continue to receive that $250 contribution from Marylanders and other people from outside of the state. So again, a candidate can raise up to, well above that on small dollars.
Where's the money come from? And is there any concern, maybe from taxpayers, if it's tax money, that it might go to a real fringe candidate who has opinions way out of the mainstream that they wouldn't want to support?
So the money comes from a mixture of donations through our tax system as well as general funds, and that's always how it's worked. And we're very excited that the legislature actually just enacted full funding for the system so candidates can use it. More than one candidate will have enough access to the money. And there are strict requirements in order to qualify for matching funds. So in order to even be eligible to accept these contributions, you have to have reached thousands of donors. I think it's 1,500 donors and it's $120,000 in small donations. So we're not talking about fringe candidates here. We're talking about people that have broad support. And the idea is someone's going to be paying for our elections, right? It's either Marylanders or it's out-of-state money, corporations. We'd rather it be Marylanders.
Broadly speaking, how do you think Maryland compares to other states, or when it comes to donation limits on so-called independent expenditures, political action committees, all of that stuff?
Similar to other states, there is an influx of big money, coming into all of our races at all levels of government. But I think when we look at Maryland, we are the model public financing state. I think we are the one state right now that is continuing to pass these reforms, not just fixing the gubernatorial program, but more recently, we know that Baltimore County voters approved a charter amendment, and, we expect them to introduce a bill in the coming months. So Maryland really right now has the most robust set of programs throughout the state that I think is going to set us on path to hopefully establishing a program for the General Assembly and other state offices as well. We know that there are other fixes that need to be made, right? So small donor public financing does not address all of our issues. We have been working to address things like the amount of money that is coming, or I shouldn't even say the amount of money, but the abuses of businesses, LLCs in the state, and the way that they've been able to kind of bypass some of the rules and regulations that are there. Those are still things that we need to work on, but I think public financing has really provided an alternative. And I think as more Marylanders begin to understand the program and the way that it works, we're going to see more and more candidates begin to opt in, because people are going to ask you why you're not, choosing to run this way.
Yeah, I would just echo that. While Maryland is certainly at the forefront by providing an alternative to large and wealthy donors through our public financing system, there are lots of states in the federal government that bans direct corporate contributions to candidates, and we don't. Maryland is kind of behind on that, and we wish Maryland would ban direct contributions from corporations to candidates at all levels of office.
How do we do on disclosure? How frequently reports have to be filed, that sort of thing?
We have a robust reporting process. Candidates are required by law to disclose, information on where the money is coming from. Even organizations that maybe are working on ballot measures and forming campaign committees are required to disclose, once they've reached a certain threshold, who your donors are, right? Which gives us a sense of what other outside entities may be coming in to influence our elections, and even ballot measures and issues that are being decided at the local level. Candidates are required to report quarterly. Quarterly at the municipal level, there are some differences there as well, but I'd say we've got a fairly transparent process. There are loopholes there, and there are improvements that we hope will be made. Again, I think when we're looking at businesses, that is a good example of a lot of times where we're not able to truly see who has formed the business, and it's not clear where there are red flags when you're looking at a candidate's campaign finance report.
Are any counties in Maryland doing anything that you'd like to call attention to?
I think, as Joanne alluded to, the county really led the way in updating and modernizing our public financing system. So Montgomery County was the first and is now running its second election using the system. They had incredible results from their 2018 election, where candidates participating in the system had twice as many donors and an average contribution of under $100. And since then, we've seen Howard County, Baltimore City, Prince George's County, and now Baltimore County move forward with these small donor public financing systems. So now it's the state is changing the governor's program, and we hope they'll expand this program to all statewide offices.
We thank Ms. Scar and Ms. Antoine. Now our Newsmaker interview with retiring state treasurer Nancy Cobb. She spoke with MPT's Nancy Yamada.
You've been in public service for nearly 5 decades, which is really quite remarkable. When you took the state treasurer job in 2002, when you were elected, did you expect that you'd stay on the job for almost 20 years? And why did you decide that it's time to retire?
Well, no, I did not expect I would stay on that long, although I had been in the General Assembly for 27 years. So I don't hop from place to place easily or often. But I thought this was a good time, Nancy, because first of all, it has been 50 years since I started out as staff of the General Assembly and 20 years as treasurer. And I do believe in smooth transitions. I actually was elected after only about a 10-day campaign in 2002 when my predecessor, Richard Dixon, decided that he had to retire for health reasons in the middle of a legislative session. And I thought that was really very, very unfortunate. And I want to smooth the way. That was one reason. And I really do believe in generational change, even though I may not look as though I do. And I think it also is a good time because Maryland's in good shape now. We've gone through a transition in legislative leadership with the passing of our former speaker and late Senate president. We are in good shape financially. The state pension system, which I chair, is in quite good shape. And I thought it was just a fine time for a transition.
The state really is in an amazing position right now with a $2 billion surplus. How do you think this money should be allocated? Should it go in the state retirement, the pension fund, go into the rainy day fund? What are your thoughts on that?
One word response is carefully. It should be allocated by the governor and General Assembly very carefully. We are in delicate times and we don't know what's coming down the road. So I certainly wouldn't spend it all or spend it on recurring expenses. But on the other hand, the state has a lot of needs, Nancy. Our infrastructure is not what it should be. And we do have to put funding into the roads, the bridges, the pipes, preparing for climate change, all of these things which are one-time expenditures instead of building things in. And on the other hand, we have, I believe, an underpaid workforce, state workforce. We pay less than the surrounding counties, than the federal government, than the private sector. And yet we expect a great job, great service from our state employees, and we get it. But I think we have to look at that physical and social infrastructure of the state while keeping funds aside for a rainy day.
In the last 2 decades, certainly the state has weathered its fair share of fiscal storms. In your mind, what have been the biggest challenges and what are your proudest accomplishments?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is to keep going and to make our educational system what we need, both elementary, secondary, and higher ed, so we continue to have the strong, good, flexible workforce, which has brought us a AAA bond rating. I think that's the basis of our good, strong bond rating. And that bond rating is a signal to the world that the people who examine our books and examine our fiscal posture think that we are strong. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm also proud of the fact that I spent a great deal of time in the General Assembly on, well, a number of things, but one was trying to raise the posture of women in state government, the profile of state women, and I think we have made very significant progress. And the other was education, school construction, and our university. And we reorganized the university into one university system of Maryland with the flagship campus and Morgan State University as the urban campus for the state. And they have, I think, since that reorganization, just bloomed into significant worldwide known institutions and great research and teaching institutions. And I think that's terribly important.
In coming weeks, the General Assembly will be reviewing candidates for the next state treasurer. What advice would you have for this person?
I think do your best to understand the job as you come into it. It's a very difficult thing to do, a task, because there's so many different aspects of the job, ranging from the Climate Change Commission to capital debt affordability, to the bond market, to investment. And look at yourself and make sure that this is what you really feel you have a calling to do. And if you do, then God bless you.
And my
it's a
final
wonderful
question,
job.
my final question is, what lies ahead for you? What do you plan on doing?
There's so much. I must say, one thing is that I've been able to do what I have for the past 50 years because of great support from my husband and my family and the local community. And I want to spend a little time while I'm well and eager still with them, and allow us to have a little time, private time together. But the other thing is, I hope I will remain active in the community. I have not lost any of my interest or my commitment, or what I feel is a recognition of a mission we all have in different walks of life and different roles, to help repair the world, to help make the community better for everyone. And that mission always continues.
Treasurer Kopp, thank you for your long dedicated service to our state, and thank you for your time.
Now the dust has settled after a big gathering of people and horses in Cecil County. The inaugural Maryland 5-Star was held at the newly constructed Fair Hill Special Event Zone. We spoke with Maryland Department of Commerce Assistant Secretary Tom Ryford.
The economic impact of this wonderful event, one of only two that are being held in America, it's just unbelievable. The first year, the total estimated economic impact is around $11 million, which sure isn't bad for a weekend event. And of course, international attention. The event was broadcast all over the world. You can see news stories online about this event in England and in Asia, everywhere. It's unbelievable, and it sure brings a lot of positive attention to the state of Maryland, and you can't buy that kind of publicity. So there's that economic impact that you can't really put your arms around, but that kind of publicity surely is important. And when you look at, in the first year, about $11 million of economic impact, what does that mean? Well, that's the money that visitors are spending that flows through the economy. They're filling up hotels, throughout the entire Baltimore region. There were people staying in Annapolis that were having to drive up, and also over in Delaware, because the actual Fair Hill facility is right there by the Delaware border. Every hotel room in Cecil County was basically filled.
And
really,
Tom, this wasn't, I'm sorry, this was not a one-time event, right?
Well, it's going to be an annual event. Next year, they anticipate it's about a $30 million impact as this grows. And the amount of investment that the organizers have put into this event, both public and private, I mean, that just shows a great collaboration of a lot of different pockets and a lot of different talent that pulled this together. And by the way, hats off to Maryland Public Television for really helping tell the story of 5-Star and all the great things that world-class equestrian event has brought to our state. And I want to say something about the economic impact of this, because it does help provide jobs. The money that flows through our economy keeps people employed, and those visitors who come and spend money here, we don't have to build them new schools or a new sewer plant, that kind of thing. They come here, they spend money, and they go home with wonderful memories of how great the state of Maryland is.
You told me that October is Horse Month, which I did not know. And I'll admit to being from what I think is the majority of Marylanders who, when we think about horses in competition, We think about Pimlico and Laurel and horses running in circles around a track, not equestrian. But when you think about the size of the horse breeding and training and all the related agriculture, equestrian's a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. It is, yes, an agricultural per se activity, but it's also recreational. It is sporting. It is tourism. There's a lot of different niches that you can classify the Maryland horse industry. And when you look at the total economic impact, there's 28,000 people in Maryland that work in the horse industry. There are more horses per capita in Maryland than most every other state in the country, and a lot of money flowing through the economy because of the horse industry. And you're right, it's not just horse racing. It's recreational. It's all of the different activities that involve the equestrian pursuit. About $1 billion a year is spent by the participants of Maryland's horse industry. And in addition to that, we have about $78 million that's raised in local and state taxes by the horse industry. So it is an important industry.
Tom, I'm sorry, I was going to ask to broaden it out. I just have half a minute. But when you put it in the context of sports overall.
Sports overall, very, very important to the Maryland economy. And it's a lot of different classifications, youth sports, amateur sports, professional sports. You're looking at annually over $205 million in direct spending just in youth and amateur sports in this state. And when you add into the equation college and semi-pro and pro sports, it brings an additional $1 billion of spending here in our state.
Tom Ryford is Assistant Secretary of the State Commerce Department. Mr. Ryford, we appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. It's always good to talk to you.
Our thanks to Mr. Ryford. Now, recently during Hispanic Heritage Month, MPT's Charles Robinson had a chance to sit down with a cross-section of Marylanders to learn about their challenges and triumphs.
What it means to be Hispanic and Latina, it means to be powerful, capaz, capable, resilient, and strong. Because for me, and for my family, we've had to go beyond every obstacle.
Family is an important aspect of Hispanic culture and life. Umanya says she had her feet in two worlds. She was born in Montgomery County, but her parents are from El Salvador. It's an experience not uncommon in various parts of the state. The recent United States Census shows Maryland is a majority minority state. Latinos is one of the fastest growing minorities. From the outside, it may seem they're all the same. In reality, they come from different countries with different life experiences.
Here is my life now, but I teach every day my family, okay, you are from El Salvador, this is your culture, this is your sus raíces, and we need to be feliz, happy, all, en cualquier lugar. En cualquier lugar que tú estés, tú tienes que sentirte orgullosa de lo que tú eres.
That you have to be proud regardless.
Yes.
I'm so glad that I've been in this journey, that even though I may have a different story from most of the immigrants that came to the country looking for something, I was looking for myself.
What do you think people get wrong about this community?
All too often the Latino is typecast, and people don't know what to do with a Latino that doesn't fit their mold, and there are a lot of Latinos that don't fit that caricature.
There is a unique diversity in this group, but a common thread that runs through the American experience: family. In Silver Spring, I'm Charles Robinson for State Circle.
Now MPT's Sue Copen reports on new virtual reality training for state troopers.
Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. G10 Westminster, shot fire.
Welcome to the world of virtual reality.
The system is state-of-the-art, it's revolutionary.
Lieutenant Ryan Bricker is with the Education and Training Division of the Maryland State Police.
We have one instructor putting a trooper or a new trainee through the system, and the possibilities are endless. So on our old systems, it was usually screen-based, one location, and you could only go through certain scenarios. There is generally a shoot outcome, and with this, it's a decision-based outcome. It's not a shooting simulator.
The G10, can you respond to the city park? It's located off 123 Main Street in Westminster. It's in reference to an intoxicated individual.
Sergeant Brett Stoops is at the controls today, deciding where to take this developing scenario.
Okay.
So we can downplay it, we can start, increase it, or we can basically have it where it's more of a talking scenario and a de-escalation technique. That's what its main purpose is de-escalation.
Troopers can face a variety of challenging and ever-changing situations.
It can go from a traffic stop to a active shooter in a school, a mental hospital, a house, a parking lot. It can range from an intoxicated individual, a person that has a mental illness, and the instructor can take what the trooper is communicating with the subject, and it can go endless possibilities.
Right now, training is limited to just this location, but the plan is to take this virtual reality training to barracks all across the state.
One of the reasons we went with the system particularly was because it is portable, so we can take it to the Eastern Shore, to the Deep Creek area, to the Southern Maryland and the northern counties as well.
This $110,000 system includes the headset, backpack, simulated gun, and a multi-use wand that can serve as a flashlight, stun gun, or pepper spray.
I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. Don't drop the knife.
Because the virtual is so real, you can truly get a sense of what a trooper goes through on a daily basis. And it is an excellent tool for us to be able to use, and it is truly the wave of the future of virtual reality.
In Sykesville, I'm Sue Copen for State Circle.
And that is State Circle for this week. We're back Monday with Direct Connection. Join us live Monday evening at 7. Remember to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at MPT News. And now for all of us at MPT, thanks for watching and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.
Programs on MPT are made possible by our members and the following.
University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, leading the way on Chesapeake Bay restoration, while guiding our state, nation, and world toward a more sustainable future.
The 2022 Frederick Speaker Series presents author and social